is going on, my Super Sandwiches? Rhymestyle here, and physical Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks has officially been revealed by Bandai. I freaking knew it. It's actually funny because I got a video going up later today where I talk about, I think the next freaking physical lead is going to be Gotenks. But yeah, it's happening. It's official. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. Now, I have a lot to say about that card itself, but before we get into that, let me just kind of break down what the card does, and then we can kind of discuss my overall thoughts on it. And actually, I would love to hear from all you guys about the card as well, because it's kind of controversial in a way. And we'll discuss all that in a couple minutes. But first things first, let's talk about the card. As always, much love to the Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle subreddit for the post and Koala-san for the write-up. If you want to read all this as well as the comments in the thread, I will have a link in the description below. But alright, let's talk about Gotenks. He is the physical god lead, meaning if you run super types, super physical types, I should say, keyword super, then they get a +3 ki boost as well as a 120% boost to HP attack and defense. Now, if for whatever reason you happen to be running a bad guy on that team as well, then you already know how it works. Then they only get 1 ki, HP attack and defense is going to boost up by 50%. In other words, you don't really want to do that. You want to run good guys with Gotenks as a leader. Now, as far as his passive, this is very interesting. He straight up gets a 120% increase in attack, but also for the first 7 turns, he gets a 60% increase in attack and an additional defense down of 30% for himself. So basically, for the first 7 turns, Gotenks' attack multiplier is going to be 180%. It's actually funny because as I sat down to break down this card and kind of talk about my overall thoughts on the release of this, Bandai posted in the official Dokkan Twitter that they buffed the card. Originally, it was meant to have a 120% passive plus for 7 turns. He gets 30% increase and also 30% decrease in defense, but they changed that 30% additional increase to 60%, and it's funny that they buffed the card before they even released it. And the other thing that kind of bugs me is the fact that this is their opportunity to introduce something else new and creative as far as passes, because they've been doing that a lot with cards like Super 17, you know, but like with this is like, oh yeah, let's just call it 120% and then call it a day. It's like, come on, y'all couldn't come up with something a little bit more creative? I mean, it's cool that he gets an extra 60% boost, but again, I feel like the 30% down just kind of unnecessary and pointless. They kind of just tacked it on there, just kind of balanced the card out, when in all reality, they didn't really even have to do that. I mean, again, if it was up to me, I would have done like 120% boost and then something else that's more unique to the card as opposed to like a straight up increase and a decrease to attack and defense. But it is what it is. But what I do want to say is, I have not done the math yet. And I'm not going to do the math. I'm just going to wait for the card to come out, and if I pull it, then I can see it from experience, or I'm sure my friends, if they end up pulling it, which I'm sure someone out there is going to pull it, when they do their all breakdowns and their showcases of the card, then I can have a better look at the card itself and see what the defense weakness actually is, whether or not it's going to be a huge deal or not. To be honest, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but at the same time, I just feel like it's kind of unnecessary, because it's not like a big weakness, it's just kind of there, it's noticeable, and that's a big problem with it. I mean, it's not a problem, it's just kind of knowing that it's there. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on the passive. So the 2 main questions I'm asking here is 1, should they have been more creative with the passive? And 2, is the 30% down a big deal or not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now let's talk about the thing that I didn't really like about the card itself. Now before I start, I want to point out, disclaimer, the card itself is amazing. He does a lot of damage, this is a great unit, it's going to be crushing events left and right. However, what I don't like about it is the fact that they literally copied Tech Gotenks and just kind of swapped out what he does. For example, once again, they're bringing back 3 super attacks. Whether you have 9 to 10 ki, 11 ki, or 12 ki, Gotenks is going to do a different super attack every single time. Now I know what you're thinking, well Rhymestyle, isn't that cool? You get 3 different attacks, it's like you can switch it up based on like the situation. Well, the problem is based on how teams are set up these days, especially on a physical team where you're going to be running physical Gotenks, the regular one, the original one that got Dokkan Awakened, and you're also going to be running Vegito Blue. If you run a specific team, you're going to have to run a very specific rotation to make sure you can even see some of these attacks. In fact, I'm pretty confident you're never going to see Galactic Donut. Now, granted, it's kind of cool that he has 3 different attack animations this time, as opposed to how he did it last time with the tech card, where he basically had Super Ghost Kamikaze twice, and then he had the Boo Boo Volleyball. However, to also criticize his current Gotenks, all they really did is they reused a bunch of animations, and then added like an extra little touch at the end to make it look more unique, which is both good and bad. Now, the problem is, because of how teams are set up, you're almost never going to see Galactic Donut. The cool thing is, again, this is like one of those good and bad things. The good thing is every single attack now is immense. If you guys remember, with the 12 ki attack with Tech Gotenks, it was an extreme modifier, But now all 3 of his attacks are going to do immense damage. And in fact, to break it down, the first one, 9 and 10 key, which does Galactic Donut, which you can see on the screen, has immense damage. It lowers defense greatly. His 11 key attack, which is his best attack once again, does immense damage, and for 1 turn boosts attack by super large amount. And for 12 key, Desperation Blow, Gotenks will do immense damage once again, and then for 1 turn, raise his own attack. Now, I do want to point out when they initially announced Gotenks, and like literally as I sat down to record it, this is what that attack actually did. For doing 12 key, he did 7% damage to himself. However, I guess they realized that was stupid and they took it away, because if you have like 250,000, 300,000 HP, that 7% can be like 20,000 damage. And if you keep doing it over and over again, which again, it's very easy to do his 12 key attack as opposed to do his other attacks, that would have stacked up over time. It could have been a huge weakness to the card. However, they took it away, so now if you do 12 key Desperation Blow, again, you get immense damage and you raise the attack for 1 turn. What's going to be a big deal is the fact that if you run specific teams, especially optimal physical teams, you're never going to see Galactic Donut. You're almost never going to see the Boo Boo Volleyball attack as well. What you're going to see is always going to be Desperation Blow, and that's something that I don't really like. Now again, the good news is the fact that all 3 of the attacks are immense, and doesn't matter how much key you put into it. If you get a super attack, it's going to do roughly around 1 million or so damage, which is fine. Like, you know, when you're doing that kind of damage, you're going to crush any event out there. It just, what bugs me the most is the fact that they literally just re-released Gotenks as a physical card. And like, you know, when they did this with Janemba and Gogeta, I was kind of like, okay. But now that I'm seeing this again, it's like, this cannot be a pattern. I mean, think about this. The last couple cards prior to Janemba and Gogeta were very unique. For example, Physical Cooler, very unique card. Then they released, you know, Super 17, who's really unique. And then it's like they'd start releasing Janemba and Gogeta, which again, I love those cards. I love what they did with them. They're very powerful. They're awesome. Janemba's one of my favorite cards in the game. But Janemba and Gogeta were literally the same card that were released last year, just with a couple more things added to it. And then it's like, now we have Physical Gotenks, who's literally Tech Gotenks, but in a physical form. He does basically the same setup of attacks, where it's 3 super attacks based on how much key you get is what you do, and it's similar links. Like, they had so much opportunity here to take Gotenks and just turn it into a completely unique card to his own. He didn't need 3 super attacks. He didn't need the basic passive with 120% boost with something else. Like, he could have done something completely different that would have made him so much more game-changing. And I don't know if this is just me, but it's just like, when I saw this card this morning, I was excited. I wanted it. I think it's gonna be great. I just feel like it's kind of lazy. I mean, just look at LR Broly, for example. We're gonna use him as, we're gonna call him out. We're gonna single out LR Broly for this. Now, when the first LR card was introduced, it was so amazing. It was the first animated card. It was LR Goku. He was so hard to get. He goes incredible with the tech team. And then they introduced the androids, which were also very unique to how they did it. They were the first cards that did +4 key, even though it's a pretty terrible leader skill today, but it was unique at the time. Then they introduced LR Frieza. Now we have LR Gohan, Piccolo. They were all very unique to what they did. And then they gave us LR Broly, which is basically Physical Broly and Strength Broly put together. Granted, the card is amazing, being able to attack all and attack twice, which is a great, you know, functionality to have. But end of the day, if you think about it, the creativity just isn't there. Like, I feel like when it comes down to LR cards, especially with how much work goes into getting them, they need to be as unique as possible. And if they just basically give us copy paste from other cards that were done before, it's like, well, I mean, it's cool to have, it does a lot of damage, it's incredible, but end of the day, there's no creativity here, and that's a problem. I'm gonna end the video on this note, and I wanna know what you guys think about this. Imagine a scenario. Imagine for the Extreme Tech lead, they give us Full Power Frieza. If you guys know, Full Power Frieza right now is a physical card. What he does is he gets 120% boost from his passive when he performs a super attack. Imagine that if they do Full Power Frieza as an Extreme Tech type lead, what he does is he basically gets the same leader ability with 120% for Extreme Tech types and then 50% for, you know, hero types. And then his passive ends up being like 120% increase plus, like, I don't know, a defense boost or something. Literally, it's the same card. And to top it off, they end up doing the same attack animation with like one slight difference, like with the planet exploding or something. I don't know. But essentially giving us Full Power Frieza, which is already in the game, and just putting a tech stamp on it as opposed to physical stamp and then calling it a day. Now granted, the card will be very usable. It will run really, really well. It can basically crush any event in the game. But ultimately, the problem is the fact is they didn't really change anything. They weren't that creative, and that's what I don't want to see in the future of this game. Again, it's kind of difficult at this point to give us, you know, more unique abilities and passives because so much has already been done. But at the same time, I feel like so much has not been explored yet. And if they really spend some time researching and thinking about what they can do with some of these future cards, that's a lot better than just basically giving us these half-assed releases where it's like, it's a great card, it'll excite everybody, but end of the day, there's nothing really that different about it. and I don't know. I would not be opposed if they introduce brand new metas to the game to completely throw us off and make us really rethink how we build these teams and run these events, because that's what's going to keep the game running in the longer run than it is right now. Because I mean, at this point, if you have any 120% god leads in the game, you can pretty much crush any event. Even the ones that they have the type advantage over you, you can still probably beat it if you try and run certain items in, like, you know, do a specific way. It's possible. Like, every event is beatable if you have at least 120% lead. So what I really want them to do is just to kind of switch it up and make us really rethink how everything is done, how these events are beaten. I want them to completely change stuff, introduce brand new stuff, brand new abilities, brand new passive, brand new leader abilities as well, so we're not doing the same 120% lead thing every single time, and then also getting carbon copies of cards that were released in the past. Again, I might just be having these feelings on my own, and I want to hear from you guys. So in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts on the fact that, you know, re-releasing cards is a good thing or bad thing, or you don't even care. You just want the card. Let me know what you guys are thinking down below. Now, ultimately, like I said, cards are going to overlap. We're going to see more Vegetos in the future, more Gogetas probably, and stuff like that, and that's fine. What I don't want to see, like I said, is just when they literally re-release the same card, and yeah. Anyway, so that's the card, Physical Gotenks. Who's excited? If you're excited, feel free to leave a like right below and let me know your thoughts and everything to discuss. There's a lot to talk about here, so I'm really curious to see what you guys say. So you guys just let me know your thoughts on everything we discussed down below. Hope you guys enjoyed today. My name is Rhymestyle, and I'll see you guys in the comment section below.